Hey guys, welcome back to my channel for an all new episode recap of today's Days of Our Lives, April 24th, 2025. So we start off with Kat and Chad, and they're talking about preparing Chad for the auction, and talking about how the kids feel and all of that. And then JJ comes in, and he's telling JJ, he knows that a lot is going on with him, and he just is thankful that Thomas and Charlotte were able to convince him to come, and he's happy about that. But he tells Chad exactly what's going on with Gabby and what happened at the auction, and also that Gabby's upset with him because he accused her of shooting EJ. So he's like, how can you do that? So he's like, I'm doing my job. And I keep saying, I don't know why people are so upset at JJ, because JJ is doing his job. At the end of the day, she can't be that upset. He is just crossing all his T's and dotting his I's. She had a problem with EJ, just as many people in Salem did. So it's like, it shouldn't have been that big of a deal, right? She should have gotten over it. And, JJ is trying to explain to him that, again, he's doing his job. And, Chad understands, and that he understands that Gabby probably not didn't take it lightly. And he said, yeah, she's not talking to me at all and all that, right? So anyways, Chad gets ready to, get the auction done. I guess Thomas came and he took Thomas to play some games before doing that. And then Kat had some time to talk to JJ. JJ was trying to make a beeline to get some hot dog because it was getting awkward. He doesn't really care for Kat. And she said, I know you're upset with me about what I did posing as your dead sister, and I'm sorry about that. And I just want to say that, despite what's going on with you and Gabby, I hope you guys work it out. She forgives you. You're a good guy, and you're just doing your job. And she just was over explaining herself and being very frantic. That's the only thing I do not like with her character. She seems to just be too frantic, and it's too much. Yeah, she's a bubbly person, but it was just too much, honestly. So, anyways, Sarah and Xander there. Xander's asking her why she looks so cordial with Philip. And she said she just really wants them to just, put things aside. And as much as she's not a big fan of Philip, she understands what it is. And she's just asking Xander to just, keep it cool about it. And Maggie comes and Maggie's like, what's going on? So Xander fills her in on what happened with Vivian telling him, that Philip forged a letter, and he was just so angry about it, and he can't believe that he betrayed him like that. And he's like, Maggie don't seem so surprised. So she could tell that, Xander doesn't know the full truth and Sarah is still in the clear. So she's saying, it's not that I'm not surprised, it's just that knowing Philip's track record, that's what it is. So anyways, Sarah makes up this thing about she needs napkins or whatever, and Xander goes for them, and it gives her and her mom to talk. And her mom said, I take it, obviously, that Xander doesn't know your part. Are you gonna tell him? So she's like, I want to tell him, but I'm like conflicted because I don't know if I'm just doing this to just protect myself now and not really about him. So she's like, yes, it's gonna do more harm than good. Yes, it's gonna clear your conscience, but look at what Xander did to Philip and everything. Like, maybe it's best to just keep it where it's at, right? So anyways, that is it with them, and I'm just really annoyed as usual with this until the secret come out. So Kristen finally pays her brother a visit. He's out of the coma, and she's like, you probably are the luckiest SOB alive, right? So anyways, she's happy for a few reasons that he's alive, that he can finally tell her where did he hide her mother. So he's like, I swear I didn't have nothing to do with it, but I'll definitely try to help you, trying to play it off this innocent kind. And she's like, save this BS. So he's like, really and truly, I don't know. So I'm like, yeah, right, EJ. So anyways, she's asked if she says she's preoccupied with that, and also trying to save the company from Xander, because again, EJ doesn't know about this, and EJ was on, just relatively not upset about it, right? Like, he doesn't care. And he's like, she's saying maybe we can have a temporary truce, and he's saying that, no, I can't help you with that. Sorry, I had an epiphany while I was in this coma that I wanted to be a better man. I'm a changed version. And after everything that happened with my son, I just want to make amends and just do better, do a better. And, I'm not buying it as much as Kristen, because I don't know. Leopard doesn't change his spot, and I don't know about EJ, right? So anyway, she does not buy it at all. And, do you guys buy it? So JJ comes back to see Kayla, and he tells Kayla that, okay, I need your help on something. I know that EJ is awake. Is there any way that you can help me, getting to see him? Nobody else has interviewed him. I really need to see if he knew anything about the shooting. And she's like, I don't think he really knows anything. He just woke up. His brain is probably foggy. It'll take some time. So it's like, maybe, he could have remembered today. And I'm just asking you if you really can just get me in. I want to do it not just for this reason because it's my job. It's because, I want to see if Gabby could be cleared as a suspect. So she understands, said, okay, cool. So we finally get to see the new Rachel, and she definitely looks like the older one, the other one, but she was there earlier at the fundraiser with her mom, and same old attitude, trying to demand for her mom to stay there or her to go with her friends. So Kristen saying that no, we have to go, I have some busy to take care of. So she weird on her mother until she said, okay, you can stay with your friend's mom and all that, right, as long as it's okay. So that's when she went to go see EJ. So Xander tracked her down, and again, see what I'm saying? Like, how come the friend's mom wasn't paying attention? Like, some guy just come up and just see her at the game and take her. I don't understand. But anyways, she goes over to Sarah. She's cool with Sarah. The whole history with, the baby swap and all that. So she asks her if she want to play some games. So they go ahead, and that's when Xander and Maggie talk. And Maggie's like asking what's going to be the future of Titan with Philip and all that. So she said, even though I can't shake him, Shin wants us to work together so as to avoid any backlash in the public and all of that with the mirrors and all that. So I'm stuck with him, right? But, Maggie said, for the greater good, can you just, forgive him and, work along with him and all that. So he's like, that's a tall order. I can't do that, right? Kristen comes back and she's surprised to see Rachel with Xander and Sarah. And Sarah said that, she was like, where is your friend's mom? So Sarah said that, we took her from her. I hope it's not no problem. So she said, not really. So anyways, they go off to play games, and she said she wanted to talk to Xander alone. So Xander is like, you already begged already for the company. You're not getting it back. So she said, I do not beg, Xander. That's for foremost, right? So anyways, I need to make a pitch, and he's like, I'm not interested. I got two companies. Like, what do I need to hear you out for? So she said, okay, suit yourself. So she threw the drink that she had in her hand right here on him, and I thought it was real funny. So at some point Rachel and Sarah come over. Rachel's like, why is your shirt so wet? So he's like, it's your mom. So she's like, that wasn't on purpose, because he was trying to say accidentally for her sake. So anyway, she come over, is like, is your shirt dry? So he just looks at her like, So she takes Rachel, and they go over at another point, and Xander, Sarah are looking at each other like, this woman, and he's like, if Rachel wasn't there, I would throw some drinks on her, and she's like, I would help you too. So anyways, they go home, and Kristen and Rachel sees Kat and Chad, and Rachel says, oh, look, it's Abigail. So of course nobody broke it to little Rachel that that's not actually Abigail. So Kristen said that she'd explain to her on her way home what's going on, because it's complicated, right? So the Chad is at the auction. It's his time to go on, and Kayla is there, and she's introducing him as the CEO and I guess editor in chief of the Spectator, and that he has two amazing children, all of that, selling him and all that. And nobody really, she really didn't start off the bidding that much until Maggie chimed in and said 1 million. So it was just Maggie. I mean, these women have their money, they're bossing up here. So anyway, she took her, and Kat was also there as a bachelorette. I think the rest of the auction would be online, so we didn't see anything with her. But Maggie and Chad are on a date, and it's for a good cause and all that. So Kayla is happy that Maggie pitched in. Maggie did say that she was gonna do her big one for the hospital, as Victor would do. It's just that a lot of things tied up with Titan stocks and all that. But yeah, she did her big one, and she got Chad, and she's like, I expect for you to wine and dine me. And I'm like, yes, ma'am. Like, for $1 million, of course, Chad need to come with it. So at some point it was really awkward with Chad and Kat. It was really awkward and hard to understand between them, their mixed signals and feelings and all that. Yeah, that was it with them, right? So Kayla and JJ are at the hospital. That's when Kristen left, and JJ got the chance to interview him a little bit and ask him if if you remember anything about the shooting, anybody that shot him. And EJ said, "Sorry, detective, but I can't really help you. I was drinking on the night." So she said, "It's not only drinking. You just came out of the coma, so your memory is gonna be a little bit blurry or foggy." So he said, "Yeah, I'm trying, but I can't really remember. It's just a blur to me." So she said, "JJ, let's not perplex him any further." You know, he said, "Okay, I'll come back and we'll take this up another time." So he stopped Kayla because Kayla was gonna leave, and he said, "I know you really don't care for me that much, but I just want to thank you for your service and all that." So she said, "You're important to a lot of people in my family. My niece was here, Sammy was here." So he's like, "I wasn't aware of that." So she said, "Yeah, she was here." And he said, "I know she must be mad at me, and everything that happened, Johnny probably don't want to have anything to do with me, and I don't blame him." So she said, "For what it's worth, he also was here, so maybe he hasn't written you off as yet." So she leaves, and she says she's sorry that it didn't really go as successful for JJ. So she goes back to the fundraiser, and she asks if he wanted to tag along. So he said maybe later on, right? So he gets an email from ballistics, and they said that the bullet is really damaged, that they recovered from EJ. It was damaged, but they're not ruling out Melinda's weapon, so Ava is a suspect. So that's when JJ called. He informed Jade of what's going on. Then he called Trip to ask where his mother is, and he said that his mother's not there. She actually checked into a Tibetan monastery, which is just so crazy to me. That's where Ava Vitali ended up. But this is Salem, and this is Days of Four Lives for you. And EJ was trying to remember something, but it looked like he remembered something. Maybe that planted device that Rave put there. But that is it, guys. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe to my channel. Comment below your thoughts on today's episode. I will see you guys tomorrow.